Hello and welcome to another Naughty Egg Draw. I'm your lovely host Jake, and today we are doing video 2 of 3 where I am taking a sketch and bringing it all the way to a completely casted model. In this video we are going to be making a clay model based on the drawing we made in the last video, and if you haven't seen that first video yet, make sure you click on the link and watch that video first. But I think it's about time we get started. Okay, so to start off, when you're working with modeling clay like super sculpey, you want to bulk up the larger areas by wrapping tin foil together. I normally tape it up a bit as well to keep it together. You're going to want to do this to help avoid any cracking when it comes to baking the clay. Now I made sure to do this for the body of the Corgi, since every Corgi tends to seem to look like a meatloaf with legs. But when you have the basic shape you want, you can start to add clay on top of the shape you made. At this point I was trying to figure out how I wanted the legs to be, so I rolled up some clay to make some front legs. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have all 4 legs or just the front legs showing. But at this point I was just playing around with the idea and having maybe the back legs underneath like he was laying on top of him. Once I got the legs in place, I flattened out the section of where the head would rest on much later in the sculpture. The thing with sculpting compared to drawing is that you have to think ahead just a little bit more, so you don't back yourself into a corner later on in the sculpture. And as you can see, I decided to add some back legs to it, but have it seem as though they're resting on the ground and not as much like he's standing on them. And the liquid you keep seeing me put on everything is Bacon Bond. This works as a glue to keep everything together better once you bake it. Now you may be wondering how I am getting such flat, even sheets of clay, and that is because I am running the clay through a pasta maker clay roller. Now you don't have to have one of these, you can roll it out by hand, but it really helps so much more if you're more serious about sculpting.
Do you struggle with making very flat, even sheets of clay? Do your hands just hurt like crazy trying to roll out the clay by hand? Well then, it sounds like you need yourself a trusty pasta maker. No longer will you have uneven clay. Now this clay gets this artist's thumbs up of approval.
So at this point I am just bulking up the butt a bit more so I can make it a bit more fluffy. Now I didn't know how I was going to go about making the texture, so I played around with a bunch of different tools as well as some crinkled up tin foil. Now I am still not super happy with how the butt fur looked, and I found a way better way to make the texture later on, but sadly I had already pre-baked the body at that point. But before I sent it into the oven to pre-bake, I made sure to add some extra little details to the jacket he's wearing. Adding some stitching marks with my dental tool and using the side of that same tool to roll on some clothing texture onto the shirt. Make sure not to get too carried away with the texture, just make it a bit subtle. Now, after it baked in the oven for a bit, I was ready to make the head for the doggo. So you may have noticed that I put 2 sticks in the body. One was to be able to connect the head better, and the other one was for the jetpack. Remember when I said planning ahead helps when it comes to sculpting? This would have been such a pain to attach if I hadn't added those earlier. I didn't get too carried away at this point with the head because I just wanted to get the basic shape down that I like, and then I would bake it, and then I would have a solid foundation to add more clay onto it for details. So once it was baked, I started to add clay to bulk up the neck and completely attach the head to the body. And this was the point that I was talking about where I found a better way to make the fur texture. Man, I wish I would have been able to do that for the butt. And I do want to apologize for pretty much having everything in this top-down view. My secondary camera was having a lot of issues the whole time I was shooting, and it would turn off after a minute or two of being on, and it was just really frustrating. But as you can see, I'm just adding some details in the face here. After this, I threw it in the oven to bake again, and then I jump into making the jetpack. And I'll let you guys enjoy that last bit, and I'll see you at the end result. Alright everyone, that is it. Part 2 of our series is complete. We have finally finished our Space Corgi in clay. Now make sure you keep your notifications on, because in the next video, I'm going to be taking this model, making a mold of it, casting it in plastic, and painting it. But anyways, thank you guys so much. For watching this video till the end. If you haven't yet, make sure you smack that sub button and hit that little bell button so you guys know when I post these videos. And like always, keep drawing, and until next time, bye!